keep you down. So I leave that with you for the rest of the year. Don't let life's trouble keep you down. Just shake it off and move on. Like they say, just dry up. Don't cry over spilled milk. You just dry it off and move on. Okay? Just like the donkey just shook off the soil. Let's do that for the rest of the year and go out through 2017 with life, smiling at life. Because there's nothing it can throw at us that will throw us down. Okay? At this moment, I would like to welcome our guest, Mr. Dr. Stephen King. I'd like to welcome you. I'd like to welcome Director of Corrections, Mr. Vanguard. Also welcome Deputy Director of Corrections, Mr. Leonard Terrence. I'd like to welcome Dr. Aaron Ajuda, Burton Ditterville, Head of Special Branch, Troy Lamontine, Central Intelligence Unit, Assistant Director, Administration, Mr. Patrick Allen, Custodial, Mr. Wayne Shalry, Operation, Mr. Chris Felix, and Rehab, Mr. Alberto Felicien. Staff, as I said a while ago, ladies, 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 you look lovely. Gentlemen, don't feel offended, don't feel jealous. But the ladies tonight, honestly, outshines us. And as you know, that's our rib, okay? We gotta cherish them. So, they do outshine us tonight. I bid you a warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, like I said a while ago, enjoy yourself tonight. It's a night we have to just enjoy. Don't let anything keep us back. Okay? At this moment, I will call on Deputy Director, Mr. Leonard Terrence, as he gives us, as he does his part.
Senator Sean Edwards. Sorry. Senator Sean Edwards. Sorry. District Rep Sean Edwards. My apologies to you, sir. Dr. Stephen King, guest speaker for this evening. Director of Corrections, Vanguard, and his wife. Let me welcome all. Mr. Ditterville, Head of Special Branch. Let me welcome all heads of departments from various agencies, all heads of departments from the Bordelais Correctional Facility, all managers, all invited guests, but most importantly, let me welcome the staff who will be at the center of our activities tonight. Let me welcome the staff at the Bordelais Correctional Facility. Many of us could have been at different places tonight, but the mere fact that we are present in this gathering amounts to the fact that we are among some very distinguished people, and that speaks to the significance that all of us place on this event, on this awards night. To say that this year was a good year would be an understatement. In fact, you would not do justice to what transpired throughout the year or throughout the 12 months of 2016. On the other hand, to say it was a bad year would be selling yourself short, underestimating your value, and probably taking for granted what you have done throughout the year, because you have done so for so many times before. I would rather say it has been an interesting year. An interesting year for what it is worth. An interesting year where there were challenges as well as successes. There were tears as well as there were moments of joy. But you are here basking in the ambience of this room from the creative hands of Kimran Charles and his relentless crew. I would like you to give them a big round of applause. Because as I walked in there tonight, Kimran, even as he came down with the fever, was still here working just moments ago. And I would want everybody to recognize this because he has been working tirelessly, relentlessly to ensure that this room looks the way that it is looking there. So I just wanted to take the moment to do that because tonight he is not too well and I'm not even sure if he'll be able to make it. But if he walks in that room, he deserves a round of applause if he does walk through that room. Okay. Tonight belongs to you, the officers. Tonight belongs to you, the non-uniformed officers who work at our facility. For those who work the double shifts over and over, we say a big thank you to all of you for keeping the facility safe. For those, despite their personal challenges, ailments, sicknesses, who made it to work day in and day out without muttering a word of complaint, we salute you. To those who try to those who try to do to those who sorry to those who try every day to instill some value and worth into the inmates to make this unforgiving society understand that they are humans who can make a change for the better, we honor you. For those whose days and nights are spent securing this facility, who carry out some of the most important operations in St. Lucia seamlessly, who work as covered steel, whose work are like covered steel, we appreciate you. To those who work in the pit of danger, who lock up the inmates, who transport them, who extract them, who transfer them, and yes, those of you who actually do the searching, we appreciate you. And there are those who ensure that every administrative detail is executed in a timely and efficient manner. This facility and your presence here tonight would not have been possible without them. Tonight, I want you to recognize, because after all, they were selected by you. Congratulate them, encourage them. If you did not get an award yourself tonight, today might very well be their day. Tomorrow may just be yours. Tonight, I want you to enjoy yourself because you deserve it. Drink moderately, dance in excess, but tomorrow we start anew. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that warm speech. And my humble apologies to you, Mr. Sean Edwards. I apologize for that. Welcome. And Mr. Wong Sonson, also, my apologies for not mentioning you. And we also have Mr. Marcus Dennis, Chief Engineer of Sandal Grants. My apologies also. Okay, as I call his name, I will call him up so that he can give a little warm speech. Mr. Marcus Dennis.
Good evening, everyone. Uh, Throughout the last year, new relationships have been built, redounding to the improvement in the rehabilitative product of the Bordelais Correctional Facility. The Bordelais Correctional Facility formed a new relationship with the Great Ship Foundation through the Sandals Foundation, which is Sandals Resorts philanthropic arm. This relationship has culminated in donations being made to the rehabilitative department, including an autoclave machine and also a dental chair. The hope is to assist your facility to become self-sufficient in the area of dentistry and going way beyond only tooth extractions and the basic oral care procedures. In fact, we are working towards next year, 2017, to secure a contingent of dental professionals to assist in your oral care program. Sandals Foundation have gone further than oral care in 2016 by donating linen in the form of bed sheets, towels, and wash rags. The foundation is committed to working with your facility to improve the national security landscape in St. Lucia, as we all are aware that there is a correlation between improved national security and new guests to our shores. In thanking your management and staff for this opportunity, we have also donated a day pass at Sandals Grand St. Lucian Palm Beach Resort for 2 towards one of your hard-working awardees tonight. Let's have continued good working relations and enjoy the rest of this wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the speech. Okay, moving on. Our feature address tonight will be done by no other than Mr. Stephen King. Calling you up, sir, as you do your part.
Thank you, Mr. St. Louis. District Representative, the Honorable Sean Edward, from this great district of Dennery, the district of a history of resistance to what is wrong and standing up for what is right and the common man. That's the district you lead, sir. Director of Corrections, Mr. Vungard, and your charming wife. Other officers from Bordelais, staff, invited guests, my colleagues, Dr. Dove, Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Judah. It's a pleasure to be here. When I heard the story about the donkey, and I wanted to reinforce it with one of the passages that I like in the Bible, which is from Romans 5, which is perseverance over tribulation builds character, and character builds hope. So the story of the donkey goes way back. I think when I was debating with myself what to talk to you about, I started off thinking about you and what you have to deal with and what has been revealed to you, and therefore what is your responsibility. You see, in my view, in this life, we pass this way but once in this body. But we are spirits on this earth with a mission. And of course, each of us must always question, what is that mission? And what happens to you or to any of us? What is revealed to us? The privilege of the gift of sight, the privilege of being to a mountaintop and seeing, means you have a responsibility to act. I think every one of you here who works in the correctional facility has seen. You have seen the society. You see the society through the people that you minister to in the correctional facility. And I don't use the word minister too lightly. I use it with all the weight that a ministry means, because that is what you are responsible for. Of course, the question is, how should you do that? I heard us talking about rehabilitation, and I think that is an interesting concept. It is one that I, for one, believe in. And I will take you to a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, which says, "Darkness cannot cast out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot cast out hate. Only love can do that." That is the essence of rehabilitation. And you know, in this life, if you look at human development and what you are dealing with, in fact, there are two cycles that I can think of. The first is the disease or therapeutic cycle: prevention, management, rehabilitation. You are in the realm of managing patients, or shall I say inmates in bordelais. I'll call them patients because they need therapy, and we'll talk about that. You are in the business of managing them. You're in the business of rehabilitating them. But more than that, I think you have a responsibility to show the society how to prevent. Because the treasure of what's in that correctional facility, the treasure of knowledge that you can bring forth into the society to give effect or give substance to policy and to programs and to actions to prevent people from getting into that situation where they're incarcerated, is important. And that is, I believe, part of your responsibilities. Any of the doctors here will tell you, our responsibility when we see a disease is not merely to cure that disease if we can. Our mission is also to prevent that disease from happening at all. And that is your mission as well. So that brings me to the human life cycle, the second cycle. Conception, early childhood, adolescence, adulthood, elderly years, back to conception. That cycle is what can go wrong and what you see in the correctional facility. Let me just quickly run through it. How a woman becomes pregnant, how does conception occur is important. How she values her pregnancy is important. What she does during her pregnancy is important. Does she smoke? Does she drink? What does she do? What's her mindset? What's her emotional state? When she gives birth, how does she give birth? How traumatic? Was the father there with her? Was a bonding made at that time? Was a bonding made prior to conception? Was it made continue during pregnancy? And was it there at birth? What is the early childhood opportunities? What is the early childhood environment like? Is it a pro-social, loving, nurturing environment or not? And as you move into childhood, what is happening there? What is that environment? What is the responsibility of all of us now to make sure that the environment is what it should be? And as I talk about childhood, that is where we begin to see the beginnings of the problems that may manifest themselves into crime. There's a condition called conduct disorder that children begin to show. And that conduct disorder is manifested or manifests itself in the following way. They are unemotional, callous, destructive, aggressive to animals and to people. They violate serious violations of rules and so on. And that is the behavior. When you see that in a child, you know that child is in trouble. And if you look into the history of that child, you'll often see history of child abuse, a history of neglect, a history of carelessness, and a history of being left behind in school. A child often that has learning disabilities that are unrecognized. You will see that there. Somebody will tell you there may be some genetics in it too. Yes, the geneticist will tell you there are certain genes that seem to predispose to some of these conditions. There's not much we can do about genes, but there's a lot we can do about the environment. In fact, some people even argue about the epigenetic phenomenon, when you can downregulate and upregulate genes by the environment that you expose children to, and you can pass that on to the next generation. So your responsibility, as you can see, as I'm trying to outline for you, goes deep, because it goes deep even to the next generation. So when you and I pass from this earth, we must make sure that the next generation has a better chance, has a better life. That's our job as people, a people of God, a people of evolution, a people that are striving to move forward to get to that promised land which we have not yet arrived at. And then you move to adolescence. What happens in adolescence? The substance abuse, the other peer influences, and you will see the conduct disorder getting worse. In fact, the psychiatrists talk about two types of conduct disorders, one that appears in childhood and one that appears in adolescence. Be that as it may, it manifests itself the same way. And what happens as we move on to age over 18? We doctors love labels. We love to diagnose. Dangerous as that may be, I might tell you, there's the antisocial personality disorder. I suspect that probably half of our people in the correctional facility have antisocial personality disorder. Where, again, they're unattached, they are careless, they're irresponsible, they're impulsive. They have high levels of, or when they experience frustration, high chance of becoming aggressive and violent. Very good at manipulating, very good at rationalizing, very good at blaming others. Not my fault. So that's what we see. So I want to tell you, what we must do, what you must do, the challenge that you must rise up to, in my view, the rehabilitation model. How do we start? You look at the ability for the people to read and write. I was so impressed when I went to the bordelais graduation that Mr. God invited me to. And I saw people graduating having learned to read and write, that Nell, you, I think, had done for you. That is brilliant. That is what we need to do. So that's the first step. Then there are other skills we must give. The vocational skills, which I see we are trying to do. The academic skills. I saw CXC graduates. In fact, the joke around town, it's not a joke because it's a serious thing. They were saying that a woman told me she better send her boy to bordelais for CXC because bordelais has better results than any of the secondary schools. But it goes to show what can happen once you try and once you work with people, no matter what their circumstance and condition. And then we move on. Group therapy, substance abuse treatment. Many of the people that you minister to in bordelais have substance abuse problems. That is a comorbid factor in their behaviors, in fueling their dangerous and criminal behavior. Surely that must be addressed. I don't think we're doing enough for the substance abuse, addressing substance abuse in our facility. And then you can move on to psychotherapy and what is necessary. Psychotherapy, if you think about it, I outlined to you some of the factors that lead to antisocial behavior. If you think about psychotherapy, it tries to reverse that. So one form of psychotherapy is psychodynamic or reflective psychotherapy, where the psychotherapist works with the person to go back over childhood traumas, to shall we say, deal with those childhood traumas and put them aside and rise above, just like the donkey, that's a spade of sand, to rise above that childhood trauma and therefore learn or understand how that trauma was causing behavior today that was antisocial and putting that person in trouble. Then there's interpersonal psychotherapy, because a lot of our antisocial personality disorders and people on the spectrum towards antisocial personality disorders cannot form long-standing mutual relationships, mutually loving relationships. They have a problem having those enduring relationships. And that for a number of reasons. But interpersonal psychotherapy will deal with that in terms of helping them to understand how to have better relationships. That is important. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's mentalization-based therapy. And one that I love, the democratic therapeutic community therapy, where what you do, that is in groups. Why it's important, you do sports, you do teams, do you not? Don't you have football teams in your facility? What you can do as well is in these are therapeutic communities. Bordelais itself should become a therapeutic community where you involve the inmates in the work of the prison, you in their own programs, in their own rehabilitation. It becomes more of what we call a pro-social environment where good behavior is rewarded. And you always look for the positive. When you're talking about rehabilitation, it's not about punishment. Punishment for somebody who has antisocial tendencies will not work. It does not work. It's been proven scientifically not to work. It only drives the person to be more manipulative, more deceptive, to lie to you some more, to hide some more. That is what the punishment does. What you have to do is actually engage them just like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King says. It's love, because that alone can push out the hate. And you know, as in closing, talk about leadership. I see you officers, you staff of Bordelais, as having to take up leadership role in this society where crime and violence is rampant and creating fear. As we speak tonight, I have never heard more women speak to me about being afraid of living alone, of walking alone. Sir Arthur Lewis Community College girls are telling me they don't want to walk on the campus alone. This is not the society that we want. You are in a position to show the society what can be done. Because in the correctional facility, in Bordelais, up on the hill, is where it is hottest. That is where everything is. That is where the icon, that is where the window to crime and violence, and therefore the solution for crime and violence resides. And therefore, the Most High demands of you, you must understand it. You must rise higher to that mountaintop, and you must see, and you must come back, and you must lead. That's the leadership that you must show. Each and every one of you. And I'm pleased with the leadership of Mr. Verngard. And I think he deserves a round of applause. You see, Mr. God has shown some leadership, and I'll tell you why. But there's a program that's near and dear to me that he has just done, which I think is very important. Bringing arts as a form of psychotherapy into Bordelais as rehabilitation is brilliant. Because I explained to you the theories of why people find themselves in prison from the emotional, psychosocial point of view. And I've explained to you the theories of rehabilitation. What art, music, poetry, painting does, what that does is it causes an individual to reflect. It causes deep introspection, especially if it is properly guided. And when I listen to the poetry, when I see the art, when I hear the music coming out of Bordelais, you can feel that deep reflective introspection that is occurring. That is fundamental psychotherapy and fundamental rehabilitation. It is shown to work in various countries, in various prisons, and it will work here. It is working here, and I think we'll see more of that. So I want to commend him for allowing that program to start, that seed to be planted. And I would like you to support all those rehabilitation moves. I would like you to be creative and innovative and think of others that should be brought. Because at the end of the day, every single person who's admitted to bordelais should be in a rehabilitation program appropriate to their place, their space, their emotional place, their emotional space, their psychological space. That is what we must do. Yes, we don't have a lot of resources, but don't worry about resources. You know about the loaves and the fishes? 5 loaves and 5 fish fed the multitude. That story is not just to be left there. That story is to be brought into our lives today, where we have limited resources. The message is, be not afraid, do what is right, and it will happen. That is the message. Don't mind if you don't have a psychiatrist, if you don't have a psychologist. Yes, it's good to have them. Of course we want them. We'd like to have everything. But if we can't, we can still do what needs to be done. Because we are human beings, and we understand. Once we have the love, once we understand the mission, we can do it. Because then we have become the instruments that I say you're in a position to be, that the Most High has given you an opportunity to be that instrument to do what is right, not only for the individual, but for the country. Because believe me, every single person that you serve, you actually serve the entire country. Because if you create justice anywhere, you are actually fueling justice everywhere. To turn that phrase on its head. Back to leadership. I want to bolster up Mr. God and tell him, be not afraid. Here's what he has to ask himself whenever he has a question. Because cowardice asks, is it safe? So, you know, boy, the minister ain't go like that. As I mentioned the minister, the Honorable Minister, Herman Gill Francis, is actually not well tonight. That's why he's not with us. So I'd like to actually apologize for him. That information has come to me, and I was told to tell you that this is his situation. Because you know he would very much like to be here. He doesn't miss this opportunity to eat and drink and dance. Right? Anyway, is it cowardice or is it safe? That's what cowardice asks. And that, as you know, many of us, that's what we do. I lose my job. Stay with it. Don't rock the boat. Don't mess. The next one, the next one actually is expedience, to get it done quickly, get it done fast. Is it politic? So does the policy say so? Does my minister say so? My PS say so? Let me just line up with them and make the thing happen. Whether it's right or wrong, I'll follow them. Because it is expedient to do so. Then there's vanity. Vanity says, is it popular? Will I look good? That's a common one. All of us want to look good. Who doesn't want to look good? Everybody wants to look good. And the ladies are already looking good. Fellas, you know, Mrs. St. Louis said so. But all of us want to look good. So vanity. The next one, and the most important one, and this is the one you have to ask yourself all the time. Conscience asks, is it right? And fundamentally as leaders, that is what you have to ask yourself. Is what I am proposing, is what I am doing right? And you have to ask that question in the quiet, when it is you and the Most High alone. Is my Lord, is this right? And then have the faith to do the right thing. If you have the faith to do the right thing, even if you do not know what the next outcome will be, rest assured, if you have the faith, you will believe it will be all right, because you're doing the right thing. And as you know, the Most High will never let you down if you're doing the right thing. So don't be afraid. Do it anyway. And the last thing I want to leave with you and Mr. God is about leadership. Leadership is not so much about seeking consensus. It's not about doing consultations and finding out what people believe or so on and so forth. That's important, but that's background information for a leader. Your job is to hold the consensus. Your job is to change it so that it is right thinking. That's your job. Because, and why you are in that position when it comes to crime and violence in this country, when you hear people talking about capital punishment is the right thing, be they men of the cloth or otherwise, you know, conscience will tell you killing somebody is wrong. Killing is wrong. No matter how heinous the crime, killing is wrong. That's a commandment. Even at the very, very first story in the Bible, Cain and Abel, when Cain slew Abel, what did God do? God didn't kill him. God put a mark on his head and said, you shall find no rest anywhere. Killing. So, you are in a position. You are in a position to advocate for all that is right. I'm not just talking here about capital punishment. I'm talking here about everything that needs to be done for what is right. That is your mission. And on that note, I say thank you. Let's have a great awards ceremony.
Thank you, Dr. Stephen King, for that inspiring message. And I'd like you to give him another round of applause again. Thank you for that. Okay, before I hand over to my lovely co-master of ceremony, Mr. Shalry, there's one thing I needed to say to you here, and I will say it to you here. Okay? It's not nothing to scratch your head about. It's something throughout the year of our work up there that I just resorted to. Because my mentality, sir, is, or I should say, there's something in my head that tells me never say I cannot. Okay? I have that in my mind. I have that mentality in there. Never say I cannot. Okay? So when um, we had our little convo, I was just pulling your legs. Okay? I already decided that I would have done it because it's just in me. Okay? I've resolved to just go with the flow. So don't take that anyway when I told you maybe or I don't know. I'd already resorted to come. Okay, sir? All right. My lovely co-assistant, Ms. Judy Clovis, to your part.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, protocol has been established. As Dr. King said, we should be a people of God, a people of revelation, to pass on the good life to others. With no further ado, we'll move quickly into our presentation of awards. For Medical Staff of the Year, we now call on Ms. Natasha James. Ms. James carries out her duties professionally and is a committed individual who is always willing to go above and beyond regular work duties to assist patients in an effort to achieve the objectives of the department. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Natasha James. Okay, our administrative staff of the year, Miss Claudia David. The work done by Mrs. David during the period under review was of superior quality to that of other individuals in her department. Her commitment, initiative, enthusiasm all went above and beyond the cause of duty. This was culminated in her selection as the most outstanding achiever in the administration department. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Claudia David. We move on to Best Kitchen Staff. Mrs. Hermes Smith. Miss Smith is very dependable and helpful in the performance of her duties as a cook. She is a team player who goes beyond the call of duty and completes every assignment given to her. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Hermes Smith. What? Look it there. You have one for year for operations department. Sorry, we have a slight correction. For rehabilitation department, Mr. Evander James. Mr. James is a dedicated and committed individual who uses his initiative in getting the job done. He goes beyond the call of duty in order to assist his department in meeting organizational goals. Mr. Evander James. Officer of the Year, CO2 for Rehabilitation, Mrs. Kerma Bertram. Mrs. Bertram is hardworking and always willing to dedicate time and energy to the department. She goes beyond the call of duty to ensure the success of her department. Mrs. Kerma Bertram. Operation. Correctional Officer 1 for Operations Department, Mr. Valencius Mafre. Mr. Mafre is an outstanding officer in his performance of duties. He is a motivator to others and works toward the mission of the facility. Mr. Valencius Mafre. CO2 Correctional Officer for Operations, Mr. Trevor Wells. Mr. Wells is a committed and goal-oriented officer. He is passionate about his work and the success of the organization. Presenting to Mr. Trevor Wells. Correctional Officer 3 for the Operations Department, Ms. Anna Arthur. Mrs. Arthur is a dedicated and reliable individual who completes all assignments and tasks assigned to her in a precise and timely manner. During a period when staff refused to comply with such procedures, Mrs. Arthur maintained a high level of commitment in the performance of her duties. That's a male or female? What is it? Okay. Our best junior officer, Mr. Janias Arson. Mr. Arson is one of the most recent officers recruited in the correction service. He has demonstrated a strong desire to learn and grow in this career. He is steadfast in the execution of his duties, which he does without partially and subjectively. Mr. Janias Arson. We move in to the custodial department. Correctional Officer 1, Mr. Marcus Peter. Mr. Peter is a hard worker, dependable and committed to his job. His dedication to the job and concern for his charge makes him a valuable asset to this department. Mr. Marcus Peter. Correctional Officer 2 for the Custodial Department, Mr. Michael Kazimi. Mr. Kazimi acted in the capacity of his Correctional Officer 3 during this period. He was very cooperative and disciplined in the execution of his duties. He is a team player and has an outstanding attendance record. Mr. Michael Kazimi. We continue in the custodial department, Correctional Officer 3, Mr. Cyril Edward. During the year in review, Mr. Edward demonstrated keen interest in his colleagues and for the rehabilitation of inmates. He goes at length to ensure his intent is well communicated. Mr. Cyril Edward. We now call on the most outstanding Correctional Officer 1, Mr. Valencius Mafre. We now call Mr. Monroe to present to Mr. Mafre. The most outstanding Correctional Officer 2, Mr. Trevor Wells. Most outstanding Correctional Officer 3, Mrs. Fabiana Arthur. Best. We now call on the Best Operations Manager, Mr. Ronald Charles. Mr. Charles is a very effective officer in his area of work. He is committed to achieving the department goal. He has led his team in many successful operations, including the apprehensions of 2 individuals on the external premises of the facility. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ronald Charles. We're still in our custodial department. The best custodian manager, Mr. Kerwin Albert. Mr. Albert has been an exemplary officer. He incorporates a combination of his abilities, commitment, hard work, and effective leadership to achieve maximum accomplishment for every staff. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kerwin Albert. We now call on the Minister, Mr. Sean Edwards, for a special presentation. The Operations Department has direct management over visits, reception, control, admissions, maintenance, special operations response team, and duty operations managers. This department has worked assiduously throughout the year to increase the number of social visits for inmates. The current structure can accommodate at least 50 visits daily or 1,200 visits monthly. This measure contributes tremendously in creating a reputable human rights climate at the facility. Further, the vigilance of the staff assigned to operations have resulted in the interception and confiscation over 330 cellular phones, among other forms of contraband, on several occasions at the facility. Several arrests were made both on the external premises and the reception area by the operations department. Through the ideas of operations staff, a family day for incarcerated parents to spend time with their children has been scheduled for later this month. Thanks to Mr. Sean Edwards. We now call on Mr. Ronald Charles to receive his award for Best Department of the Year. We now call on the Best Attendance Officer, Mr. Janias Aston. We now call on the Director, Mr. Verngard, to do special presentations.
Everybody, please have a seat. Dr. King, our guest speaker, I would like your humble permission to adopt the protocol already established tonight. The Bordelais Correctional Facility, it's a growing institution. We have quite a bit of challenges. We've had quite a bit of infrastructural challenges. We've had operational challenges, and we've also had a bit of human resource management challenges. Over the years, the last 2 years that I've been here, I've tried quite a bit to improve the capacity at the facility by training and retraining the staff. I've tried a number of things to motivate the staff along the way. And I would say that overall for the period under review, that it has been a good year. It has been quite a good year for the facility, considering the amount of successes that we've had. I just want to mention a few successes. And to a lot of people, it may seem a bit silly, Dr. King, but I think you hit the nail on the head. I think part of my vision over this period was to try to utilize different strategies to rehab the inmates because they can be quite unruly on occasions. And punishment, Dr. King, as you spoke about earlier, it really cannot cure the phenomenon at the institution. So what are we going to do? We're going to try to use some tested methods to ensure that the whole rehabilitation efforts at the facility works. I remember a smile of one of my assistant directors when I said that on Friday, I need you to take 12 inmates to the beach. You know, that sounded a bit ridiculous to him or her, but it is something that has been tested and that has worked. Try to rehab using different strategies, different techniques. We have a number of issues in regards to skin diseases at the facility, and I've always said that we have the wonderful sulfur springs. So why not develop a rehabilitative program around the sulfur springs that in itself would cure or assist in the curing of some skin diseases? Why not, Dr. King? Okay? Why not look at the talents of the various individuals at the facility in regards to song and dance and harness these abilities and try to give the various inmates a sense of ownership, to own their music, to display their talent. Why not? You know, it has been quite a hard sell, but I would say that in my opinion, and I will know categorically before the year end when I put in particular machinery to ensure that my figures are correct, but in my opinion, so far they are working. I think when an inmate is locked up in a cell for 12 years and he's allowed to stay in that cell for 23 hours out of 24 hours, I think it's a little bit I would say it's incorrect to do so, because eventually this inmate would need to come out and go back into society. And it is one thing to have an individual having that kind of state of mind coming back into society. These are the ones that will, Dr. King again, deal with some of the females in our society in a negative way, threaten them, and so forth. So we have to look for these creative ways to do so. And I want to say thank you to the staff, okay? Thank you to the staff for seeing that vision and helping me along. And I will say that 99% of what goes on at the facility is through you, and I'm very happy about it. And tonight I will do some commendations to reinforce the working environment. You have them? In our standing orders, we have the area to give what we call commendations and highest commendations. And they are in various sections. They are gold, silver, and bronze. We could offer 6 of these commendations every year, but this year I've increased it to 8 in consultation with the deputy. So the first recipient for the highest and bronze is an officer who has shown excellent performance during the year, and it's no other than Officer Caius Dujon.
Incidentally, I think Mr. Dujo is at work. Is he here with us? He's on duty tonight. Everybody cannot enjoy the event, and that is a testament of, of his commendation. We have the highest commendation silver. This officer was very resilient. He had a number of challenges throughout the year. He conquered these challenges. He assisted quite well in the area of admissions, and I would like to give the highest commendation silver to Mr. Desley Dixon. I think unfortunately I have not seen Mr. Dixon for tonight, but this award goes to him. We have the other highest commendation silver going to this particular officer. Throughout the year, she have worked relentlessly in the area of the commissary. This is an area that is very important for the behavior, to control the behavior of the inmates. And I would like to give her this award tonight. It's Miss Lynthia Jeremy. Miss Felicia, I would like for you to pin on the commendation, if you don't mind. This is the officer in charge of rehabilitation, Mrs. Felicia. The highest commendation goal throughout the year, this particular officer have worked quite energetically in his area, helping in the administrative function of the facility. I want to present this particular officer, Mr. Patrick Alain, with the highest commendation goal. Mr. Brett, could you help me pin that award? This is the Deputy Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Brett. That is it, Brett. Throughout the year, this officer have worked quite hard. She also got a promotion for the year for her continued hard work. I would like to give this honor to Ms. Fortunata Colemo. Mr. Shalry, could you help me pin that award? This is the Assistant Director in charge of custodial, Mr. Wayne Shalry. This is a different category. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Ms. Colimo. We call it the Director's Highest Commendations. The other one was the Highest Commendations. This one is the Director's Highest Commendation. The highest commendation, bronze, is going to Mr. Cyril Edwards. Mr. Smith, Kif Smith, could you help me pin? This is the director of the back and track. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. The director's highest commendation silver for a particular operation manager who has been around day and night to ensure total security at the facility. Mr. Shalry, Mr. Wayne Shalry, I'd like you to come up again to pin on this particular individual, Mr. Cohen Albert. This particular officer and her team has been an asset to the institution. She has saved, her management has saved the government of St. Lucia in the excess of $120,000 in the produce at the bordelais farm. She has worked assiduously throughout the year to ensure that we have a good farming product, including marrying it, with the rehabilitation in providing bananas and other fruits and vegetables to the inmates. I would like you to join me in presenting this award to Ms. Yolande Bravel. Ms. Felicia, could you help me with this award? Thank you, Ms. Bravel. Thank you, Ms. Felicia. Thank you. I hope that next year, apart from the soon to be announced DPP's commendation next year, we could maybe add platinum to the titles of awards that we want to grant, because in my opinion, this particular officer, falls in the platinum level. This officer has worked at the facility and he's quite quiet, says nothing but produce. And this is a commendation strictly from me. The rest of the commendations was through the assistance of the other directors. But this individual has stood out, and it's no other than Evander James. Miss Felicia, could you help me with Evander James? Very quiet guy, but very effective. Hold on. You wanna hold the mic for me? I would like, Mr. Ditterville, that you could join me on the stage to present the Minister of National Security's highest commendations. We had a number of persons nominated for this award. I think there was 4 finalists. There were 4 finalists. The dossiers were written and passed over to the Minister of National Security. And through his esteem, he did choose 2 persons for that prestigious award. I think the nominees were one, Mr. Patrick, the finalists were Mr. Patrick Allais. If you could give him a round of applause for me. Also, Mr. Kerwin Albert, Mr. Bertrand Fontenelle, and Miss Fabiana Affer. And in the esteem of the Minister of National Security, he chose for these 2 awards, firstly, Miss Fabiana Arthur. Thank you. No, hold on, Mr. Ditterville. And the final Minister's Award goes out to no other than Mr. Bertrand Fontenelle. Good afternoon, Mr. Ditterville. The bordelais Correctional Facility also enjoys a core of individuals who come to volunteer their services to the facility. And we saw it fit as senior management tonight to bestow the director's highest commendations on 3 of these individuals. Last year, I remember Mr. Keith Smith, Dr. Felicien did get these awards. But this year, this election is a bit different. I see here for the work that he has done throughout the year, resources that he has gathered, and the support he has given the facility. We have Dr. Owen Gabriel for this award. Yes. Dr. King, help me with this award, please, if you don't mind. 1 second, though. Hold it. Thank you. Now, they are not brothers in crime, but they are brothers in justice. And also, Dr. Owen King, Dr. Gabriel, I'd like you to help me award Dr. King with this highest commendation goal. Yeah. Thank you. The last but not least for the evening, we would like to present a special commendation. Deputy, could you help me with this, please? All right. This commendation spans 2 years. It goes to a particular individual who has supported the facility in its capacity building exercise for over these 2 years, ensured that training remained ripe at the facility, and that we could have met particular requirements for that training and capacity building exercise. This award goes to Mr. and Superintendent Burton Litterville. Thank you. You could hold on a minute, Deputy. We also want to just give out a few, take this opportunity to give out a few certificates of appreciation to some individuals from other organizations which have helped us quite a bit. And that is officers from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force in maintaining the outer perimeter throughout the last year. And these persons, I will call you all, you all can come up. It's Mr. Herbert Fanes, Mr. Demetrius Dantes, Mr. Alric Sedu, Nemesian Joseph, Joseph, and Kurt Joseph. I guess some of these people are on duty tonight as we speak. And lastly, we want to call on the best director of the year. That goes out to the director in charge of custodial, Mr. Wayne Shalry. Thank you. Let me shake Mr. Shalry. The relationship that we spoke about between the police and us, RSLPF, Royal St. Lucia Police Force and us, um, had some specialized training in the area of close protection that culminated in a number of our officers participating in the security team of the Prince this year. And I would like to call on Mr. DeTurville to give a few of these officers a certificate in appreciation. Thank you, Mr. DeTurville.
First of all, I honestly believe that protocol has to be revisited now that we have the arrival of the deputy, the deputy DPP, who is here with us, Mr. Brett, Mr. Terry Bradley, who is actually responsible for the training that Mr. Gadd spoke about. I may be somewhere behind the scene, but Mr. Bradley was the muscle behind it all. He prepared a lovely video that I wish that I could play for you today, but unfortunately he came without it. But it's all right. I think it's on YouTube, Bradley. It's already uploaded on YouTube, no? Well, that's our confidential training. We can put that on YouTube, right? Okay, Mr. Gadd did mention to me that I only have a 2-minute time allotment on this podium, or else he's going to throw me out. So let me let you know that on the 24th to the 25th of November, Prince Harry visited St. Lucia. I can tell you that when we have in this official visit, it is no easy task putting things together, getting the men in line to do what they have to do. We don't run these convoys for fun. I mean, we're talking about the era of terrorism. We're talking about the era of suicide bombs and all kinds of things, though it has never come out on our shores. But we got to be prepared, and we've got to make sure that we are taking the right precaution to minimize the damage in case that they were to happen. So we were tasked with putting a team together to ensure that our Street St. Lucia was safe for Prince's visit. When I look at my human resource pool at the time, there's no way that I could have made it. I had to call my friend Gadd, whom I know had trained persons. And let's put it together for them, please. Bordelais Correctional Facility was able to provide the special branch 5 trained close protection officers to participate within the inner circle security for Prince Harry's visit in St. Lucia. And let me say thanks to Mr. Terry Bradley, who conducted most of the training. And I can tell you, at that graduation ceremony, I did mention to graduates that though your training was conducted locally, but it was done with international standards. And that's no lie, and that's honest truth. As a matter of fact, at the end of the visit, Prince Harry thanked us, along with the henchmen that he had with him. They wanted to undermine us. They thought we didn't know what we were about. At one time, I heard one of them asking me about the formation of the convoy. I gave him the answers. But I walked around and I find him with my convoy commander, Mr. Ernest, those of you who know him, asking the very same question. And I stood, I said, as if we didn't know what we were about. Let me give you an incident. There was, when we were leaving Governor General's cocktail reception at the Mon, Prince Harry, whilst everything was going on, all of a sudden just decided to board his car. He's leaving. Boom, he went to his car. So we had to run and get there. Convoy commander is at his point already. He's the one at the front. I'm in my car one time. Prince Harry is in his car. But Prince Harry had to wait a few minutes. So the English guy who was in the car with me started quarreling. Man, I don't understand. I don't know what is this going on. Why is Prince car waiting? And I don't like this embarrassment. And I said, oh, you relax. Just wait. When we got to the hotel where we were going to, he called a meeting with myself and the convoy commander. Convoy commander said, hold on a while, sir. 3 things. Number 1, Governor General Yard is sterile. 24-hour security is available at that yard. 2, I was waiting for your delegates to board the bus because Prince Harry left and they were still eating. So they took some time to get on the bus. And number 3, I'm in charge of the convoy, and I'm on duty, and I'm here. He forget it. And what next thing I heard was the Prime Minister congratulating us for a job well done. Okay, so at this time, with no further ado, I would like to, I spoke to Commissioner, and we found it was fitting. We don't have money to give, but we were able to put some certificates together, including a thank you letter for Mr. Gad for the wonderful service. I'll tell you something, I couldn't even recognize them. Tonight I'm going to try to recognize the 5. I know Mr. Kervin, I know Mr. Kervin, but I couldn't recognize the others. They blended nicely among special branch persons and stood out with better suits than what I wore myself. I was surprised. So at this time, I would like to call on Mr. Vern Gad to receive the special thank you from Commissioner of Police. Mr. Terry Bradley, can you come and present that to Mr. Gad? Correction Officer number 39, Mr. Kerwin Albert. Correction Officer number 104, Stanet Charles. He's not in? Okay, on duty. Correction Officer Mr. 103, Stanius Charles this time. Guys, and I have an official apology to make for those guys who worked that visit, because the meals were never delivered on time, and the meals were never delivered sometime, and the telephone credit was never made available to you. But you would remember that at the briefing I'd warned you, as a police officer, always walk with your bread in your pocket. Marcus Peter, my apologies. Commissioner has promised me a little something again for a debrief, which is coming up very soon. So I'll try my best to make up for that. And finally, Mr. Aquinas St. Bryce. Oh, he's on duty. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burton de Turville, Head of Special Branch, Superintendent of Police. I just want to call on Mr. Terrence, Leonard Terrence, Deputy Director, to just make a special commendation for an individual.
Good evening again. Rehabilitation begins with education. And tonight we want to recognize the person who has led the education department, or who led the education department at the facility for over 10 years. He retired earlier this year, and this person is Mr. Lawrence Constantine. Mr. Lawrence Constantine was appointed as the education manager at the Bordelais Correctional Facility in September of 2006. At that time, the rehabilitation department was staffed with only the assistant director for rehabilitation, the industries manager, and Mr. Constantine. Mr. Constantine's service at the facility spanned 10 years. He came into the rehabilitation department with no guidance except for the fact that he was a former principal. As a former teacher, principal, district education officer, and curriculum specialist, he had the experience and networking skills to begin the institutionalization of an education program. With no experience working in a prison setting, he had to grapple with the many challenges which confronted him. In 2007, the education program was born with just basic literacy and numeracy skills, which was accredited by the Ministry of Education through the National Enrichment Learning Unit, NELU. Mr. Constantine continued his pursuit to another level, to secondary education. In 2011, the Bordelais Correctional Facility registered as Denry Private had his first cohort of candidates writing the CXT external exams. Mr. Constantine's dream was to have tertiary level education offered to the inmates. It's unfortunate that he had to retire without this fulfillment. Mr. Constantine is surely being missed by the education unit. He was a father, advisor, mentor, teacher, colleague, and I will rest there to say we will ensure that his legacy lives on and that we will add the tertiary level education to his enduring program. We want to specially recognize Mr. Lawrence Constantine for his effort, if he's there, or can we call Mr. Albert to collect on his behalf. He deserves a big round of applause. Just one thing I forgot to mention, since Mr. Constantine's appointment, the bordelais correctional facility has been registering between 87 and 100% pass rate every single year.
Thank you.
Okay, like all of you to give the award is another round of applause. Job well done. Okay. Before I call Miss Sarah Alfred for the vote of thanks, I call on a group of officers who want to do some special feature for us tonight.
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to share with you all something that stuck with me um, from my first day at Bordelais Correctional Facility. You see over there? I want plantain everywhere. Okay, Mr. Shalry? I want plantain everywhere. A few days later, plantain was everywhere. Some of you, a lot of you may know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't, you will soon find out. Tonight, on behalf of the junior officers and the Green Beret squad, we would like to present a special award to an outstanding leader, a great manager, our Director of Corrections, Mr. Verngard.
So I guess in the near future I'll be in church bells ringing. Miss Alfred.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. Oops. Honorable Minister, our respected Dr. King, other distinguished guests, Mr. and Madam Chairman, or Chairperson, our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks to the conclusion of this special award ceremony. On behalf of the Bordelais Correctional Facility, I extend a very hearty thank you to all who contributed to the success of this occasion. Did you have a good evening? Are you having a good evening so far? Okay, well, give yourself a round of applause. We would like to thank Honorable Sean Edwards for gracing us with your presence. A big thank you to Dr. Stephen King, sorry. A big thank you to you, Dr. King, for your insightful speech. I know we will never forget the statement, perseverance builds character, and character builds life. We all should be leaders who support what is right. We are all inspired by your great words. Thank you very much. Further, we are grateful to our sponsors for their generous gift. And you would agree with me, we had 3 categories. We had the platinum sponsors, we had the silver sponsors, and the bronze sponsors. So I'll begin with the platinum sponsors. Guardsman Society, Norms Auto Body Parts, Auto Repair and Garage, Fancy Food Limited, Marigot Beach Club, Capella, Mr. Hazel Mongal, Mr. Patrick Julian, Atwell, Dalglish, St. Lucia Distillers, Cox and Company Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, can you put your hands together for platinum sponsors? Silver sponsors. We have Alvin Manufacturer Limited, JJ Paradise, Sandals Grand, Digital St. Lucia, and Instant Speaker Repair. Let me hear you give it up for silver sponsors. And the bronze sponsors. St. Lucia Correctional Welfare Association, Auberge Seraphine, Bay Gardens Beach Resort and Spa, Coco Palm Resort, Uptown Liquor Store, and Escape, St. Lucie Day Spa. Let me hear you give a round of applause for. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of Bordelais Correctional Facility, Mr. Verngard, has been the driving force behind this whole process. His vision, interest, and hard work has once again culminated in another success story. We wish to thank him for the effort he has put in developing the correctional facility and boosting the morale of staff. We would also like to thank the administrators, management, and supporting staff who have worked extremely hard, both in the foreground and the background, to make this occasion a success. You deserve congratulations for the kind gesture this evening. Let me hear everyone give a round of support to all our administrators. We need to commend the awardees for their outstanding performance. I'm sure you will agree with me that The awardees have worked very hard, and they deserve the award that they have received. Can we give a round of applause to them, please? We would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to the logistic team for bringing things together to this award ceremony. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, an event like this doesn't happen overnight. It requires planning and a bird's eye for detail. We've been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues at the Bordelais Correctional Facility who know their job and are result-oriented. We cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zone. Thank you, Ms. Descott, for making and sending the invitations. Thank you, Mr. Kimran John, for technical arrangement, for decoration and stage setting. Isn't it beautiful, ladies and gentlemen? To the caterers, although we have not eaten, I'm sure they have done a good job. So I'm even thanking them in advance. Thank you, caterers, for the food that has been prepared for all of us. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to state that we are grateful to all for the contribution made, and we thank all for being with us this evening. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, with that in said, as the wise man say, let's eat, drink, and be merry. Enjoy.